We live in interesting times, and some of us may be a little sleepy, having been watching returns from Virginia, and I'm going to make a couple of quick comments at this point about it. As you know, the Leadership Institute is an educational foundation. Leadership Institute does not support or oppose candidates for public office, but we train very large numbers of conservatives who participate in the public policy process. It may be of interest for you to know that the youth effort for the Republican campaign, Glenn Youngkin's campaign, was by far the largest youth effort ever conducted for a statewide Republican candidate in Virginia. The Youth Leadership School trains youth organizers, and ordinarily in a campaign there is a youth coordinator. In some cases there are two youth coordinators, and in very rare cases there are three youth coordinators. The Youngkin campaign hired as youth coordinators not two, not three, not five, not seven, but 8 full-time youth coordinators, and it being an odd-numbered year, all 8 of those youth coordinators had previous success organizing students for candidates in other states. And it was a bang-up youth effort, and that was great. I am a longtime personal friend of Winsome Sears, who served a term earlier in the House of Delegates. And although not every news outlet has called the Attorney General's race, a number of these news outlets have declared Jason Miyares is the Attorney General-elect. Jason is a graduate of our Youth Leadership School, and in the late 1990s, Jason served as an intern here at the Leadership Institute. So that is very, very interesting. The results are not in with respect to all of the House of Delegates races. The most recent information that I heard was that there are 2 pickups by Republicans who defeated incumbent Democrats, and there were 4 other races where the Republican candidate was leading and likely to pick up another seat. If there are 6 Republican pickups, the Republicans will have control of the House of Delegates in Virginia. So this is very, very interesting times, and our graduates have played a significant role. I encourage you to live tweet today's event. The hashtag is on the screens, and it's easy enough for you to tweet it. In 2021, your Leadership Institute has already trained 9,550 conservatives at 356 separate training programs. And since 1979, the Leadership Institute has trained 240,278 activists, students, and leaders. You have before you our schedule of training programs for the upcoming months. I urge you to take a moment to review these schools and consider attending one or sending a friend to one of our trainings. If you are watching online, please visit our website at leadershipinstitute.org/trainings to see upcoming online and in-person trainings. It's my pleasure now to introduce Kaylee Spielman. She'll offer an invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Kaylee is the events intern here at the Leadership Institute and is instrumental in executing these breakfasts. She attends Northern Virginia Community College, where she majors in communications and liberal arts. Liberal arts? Raised an Army brat, she considers herself a Texan, but she lived in many places growing up, as lots of children of folks in the military, and she lived in South Korea for 2 years. So it's my pleasure to present Kaylee. Would you step up here and offer an invitation and lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Morton.
Good morning, and thank you so much for being here. I would really appreciate it if you would join me in bowing our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us here today safely to enjoy this event. Thank you for the outstanding speaker here with us today. Let us soak the important advice and wisdom he has to share with us. With the fall season settling in, place your hand on these individuals' hearts and give them strength and guidance throughout their journeys. Lord, bless the food we share today and the gracious hands that have prepared it. In your name we pray, amen. And please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Enjoy your breakfast.
And now my pleasure is to introduce to you Stephen Rowe, who will give a brief programs report. Stephen Rowe is the Director of Digital Training at the Leadership Institute, where he has trained more than 15,000 activists, students, and leaders in digital and political technology. Stephen has been listed on multiple lists of 30 under 30 awards. He has been featured on Fox News, Fox Business, The Daily Caller, The Washington Times, Breitbart, The Daily Wire, and deservedly more. He grew up in Montana, the Treasure State. Step on up. You'll notice that he's wearing a blue shirt and a yellow tie. That is not planned, but it's not surprising.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky enough to be having your style. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I mean, certainly a great Wednesday. You can feel the energy. It's exciting. It's contagious, and there's a lot of positive things happening. Got the honor of giving you 3 quick updates from the programmatic side of Leadership Institute, and 2 of them exist in digital training. The first one is that, of course, under Morton's leadership, digital training, we have the best digital training program for conservatives in the world. Activists in more than 85 countries and all 50 states were able to take a training so far this year. And it's been a lot of fun. And to complement our world-class training, we have 2 exciting updates. The first one is Tech Talk, and it's a new video-first podcast that exists on Instagram, YouTube, and available via audio, and it covers the latest tactics, strategy, and trends of this beautiful internet of ours. Surely, the only constant of the internet is that it's constantly changing. And so this Tech Talk podcast allows us to stay up to date with the latest things happening. You know, if somebody launches a new social media platform like Truth Social, for example, we'd be able to cover that quickly so activists are informed. And the second update that I have for you, in 2021, we launched a new initiative called the Digital Download Training Series. And this digital download happens every Tuesday at 12 p.m. and it's a 1-hour deep dive that allows you to explore digital technology, tactics, and trends affecting the public policy process. Everything from email list growth tactics to social media scheduling, all the way to becoming a YouTube creator and more. It happens every Tuesday. If you haven't attended one at this point, I certainly encourage you to do so. Now, the third thing that I had for you all today, and the final thing, is a little bit of a problem, but we have a solution. But first, the problem. Leftists dominate school boards across this country, and our children and our grandchildren are forced to pay the price. And increasingly, we see school boards focused more on pronouns than STEM education. And what we found time and time again, though, is when conservatives step on the gas pedal, we win. And it's conservative leadership that's going to restore American education. And there's a lot of examples of our success. In Minnesota, for example, a Waconia County School Board voted to keep math optional thanks to the parents' initiatives there. In Southlake, Texas, we elected 2 conservative school board members, Hannah Brown and Cam Bryan, and they won 70-30, and 3 times as many people voted in that election than did in previous elections. And of course, in our backyard here, Loudoun County, we're certainly an epicenter for the school board fight across this country. We saw, I remember looking at the news and seeing this passionate and angry father at a school board meeting. And if you looked at CNN, MSNBC, the national news media, you saw that he was pictured as a right-wing lunatic, a crazy, hack, things like that. Of course, now that the facts have come out to bear, we know why he was so angry and why he was so upset. There was an unfortunate event where a transgender student entered a female bathroom and committed sexual assault. And unfortunately, the school board threw it under the rug, didn't want to bring it up, and put that student in another school where he committed the same act. And of course, that daughter who was the victim, her father was that person at the school board. Thankfully, again, thanks to conservative pressure, activists taking action, we saw Beth Bartz, one of the school board members who was infamously terrible, resign. And hopefully a lot more of them will continue to do so. But time and time again, these are just some quick examples of victories. And to elevate our victories and to make sure that we continue pressing on the gas pedal, Leadership Institute launched our school board campaign training that's on demand and available to everyone at a time and place most convenient for you. And it's free thanks to the generous and dependable donors here at Leadership Institute. This on-demand training will provide you with the skills necessary to win a school board election. And also, if you're not running for school board, and to be quite frank, some of us should, we should take action in this front, but even if you're not, you're going to learn a lot of great effective strategies to influence your local school board, from being able to speak at public comment all the way to making sure you're performing the right activism that's successful. And so we need to really take action. 2022 is only 58 days away, and hopefully, the energy that we have had today, we can carry on. And if you looked at your ballot, like I did, and I voted on election day yesterday, it was easy to vote for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, say no to all the tax increases. But right in between those options right there were 2 people running for school board in my local area. Thankfully, thanks to some effective activists, I had a sample ballot. I knew who to vote for, and I did my own research too. But a lot of times, people don't have the right answer of who they should circle on that checkbox. Let's make sure conservatives take action on school boards in 2022, and Leadership Institute's leading the way. Thank you so much.
Well, you can see why Stephen is on various lists of 30 under 30 outstanding people in the country. Our digital trainings keep conservative and libertarian activists on the cutting edge of political technology. And I take this opportunity to remind you all and to give thanks to the generous donors who increasingly contribute to make these schools possible. And now I introduce to you Veronica Hayes. She will introduce our speaker. Veronica is the digital training coordinator at the Institute, where she helps Stephen facilitate trainings for conservatives around the world. Previously, Veronica was a culture blogger for the Media Research Center. She attended George Mason University, where she studied international relations. She is a native of Northern Virginia and the sole sister That's S-O-L-E, soul sister to 5 wonderful brothers.
Thank you so much, Warren. It's my honor to introduce our special guest this morning. All right, so Congressman Byron Donalds, thank you for being here. Byron is a graduate of Florida State University and received a Bachelor of the Arts degree in Finance and Marketing. Byron's career led him to Southwest Florida, where he worked in banking, finance, and insurance industries. He was elected to the Florida House of Representatives in 2016. During his tenure in the Florida House, Byron served as the Pre-K through 12 Quality Subcommittee Chair during the 2018 to 2019 legislative session and served as the Insurance and Banking Subcommittee's Chairman from 2019 to 2020 legislative session. While serving in the Florida House, primarily focused on elder affairs, criminal justice reform, and ensuring that each child has access to a world-class education. In January of 2020, Byron Donalds announced his congressional campaign live on Fox and Friends. Byron won the Republican campaign. He won the Republican nomination for Florida's 19th Congressional District in August 2020 in a 9-way primary filled with 2 self-funders and amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Byron secured his victory in the general election over a progressive leftist with over 62% of the vote. He has been a featured guest on multiple media outlets such as Fox News, Newsmax, BBC, The Washington Post, and more. Byron is committed to serving and giving back to the community that gave him so much. He has served Southwest Florida in many ways, including previously serving on the Board of Trustees for Florida Southwestern State College after being appointed by then-Governor Rick Scott. Byron continues to volunteer in his church as a youth leader and a mentor. He also enjoys volunteering as a coach in youth football and basketball leagues. Congressman Byron Donalds lives in Naples, Florida with his wife, Erica, and their 3 sons, Damon, Darren, and Mason. So please, Congressman, you ready? Come on out.
Those bios get way too long sometimes, I gotta tell you. But honestly, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Morton, thank you for all of your hard work, your vision, what you've done here. Training, frankly, the future. You know, I'm gonna tell you about this tie in a moment, and I wanna actually open up this book that was left on the desk for me, because it really, and I'm gonna start with the book, then I'm gonna come to the tie. It'll be illustrative. Everybody's gonna get it in a moment, so bear with me. So in the introduction of this book, Inconvenient Facts, the Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know, I'm literally thumbing through the book, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Somebody wrote a little note for me. It was precious. It was special to me, right? Here's the first quote in the introduction. The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed and hence clamorous to be led to safety by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins and all of them imaginary. If that is not illustrative of what we've witnessed, not just the past 18 months, but what we've seen really in our politics, really for the past 15 years, I don't know what is. Last night, I was in Chantilly, Virginia, a place I've never been before in my life. But when I got a call 2 days ago about going to now Governor-elect Youngkin's victory party, I couldn't pass up the chance. The reason why I couldn't pass up the chance is because whether it was watching literally school board meetings here in Loudoun County, Virginia, or seeing just the momentum from regular Americans all across the country, the momentum play was in. You could tell the inertia was on the ground. And my feeling was that Glenn Youngkin was going to become the next governor of Virginia. So I was like, I'm going to be in the room. I got to be there for this. So I get in the room. And that's where this comes into play. I get in the room, and it's about 9 o'clock. And so we're like milling around, you know, like the staff, like all the security staff, half of which like I know from like, you know, the Trump campaigns and all this stuff. So like I'm seeing these guys, they're like, man, what are you doing here? I was like, man, I got the call, I'm coming in. They were like, oh man, it's great. So I'm catching up with those guys. We're talking about all kind of stuff. The campaign staff is kind of looking at me. They're like, who is this guy? And I pointed to the congressional pin and they're like, oh, okay. And so I walk in there like, sir, where do you want to go? And I was like, well, you know, let's just go to the front. Let's go check out the front, see what's going on with the people. We go to the front of the stage. Ted Cruz is already out there. The crowd is going nuts. Ted's shaking hands. It's great. We walk out there, and then it's myself and Stephanie Bice, Oklahoma, Kat Kamick of Florida, and we are just talking to the people. And they're going berserk. Like, they are like, the election is over. We know we won. We are excited. And I'm like, hey, slow down. We still got to count the votes. We don't need to count them. We know what happened in Virginia. And so I'm taking selfies, reaching out to people. People are like 3-4 rows back. They're like, I love you. You're great. I'm like, I love you too. It's awesome. And so in that entire process of about 25 minutes just working the crowd, somehow I got a pull in my tie. That's why I'm not wearing it right now. And I looked at it like halfway through the night, and I looked down at my tie, and I'm like, what is wrong with my clothes? Like did like a hedgehog come and get me or something? And I just had no idea. But I'm gonna keep it. I'll probably end up framing it. And what it'll always remind me of is that when people are just tired of being told that they can't think a certain way, that they can't speak their minds, that they're not smart enough to be involved in their community and their politics, what you will see is an inertia that media can't predict, that prognosticators will never understand, and that even the data analysts are just confused by. And that is the story of what happened in Virginia last night. I started in politics in the Tea Party movement. That's kind of how I got in this thing. The real story of how I got in, the full story is, I'm a finance guy. Worked in it my entire career, did not care about politics. I'm the guy that all of you like kind of wonder, what is this person thinking about when they go vote? That was me. Before the age of 30. That was me. What did I do with my life? I was in finance. I like money. I like making it. It was cool. I come from the inner city of Brooklyn, New York. I'm just trying to find a way to make a great living, raise my kids, be a good dad, be a good husband. I love sports. I'm a basketball junkie. If it's the NBA Finals, listen, I'm the guy, like, if you're talking to me, I'm ignoring you because I'm focused on what's happening on the court. Like, I'm that guy that re-watches NBA games just because I find it so fascinating. I love coaching. I love, you know, just being around young kids and mentoring them and doing all that stuff. That is who I am. Still am. Politics found me. The reason why politics found me is because it's the financial collapse in 2007, 2008. And my company asked me to do research on what's happening in our economy. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go do the research. Now, mind you, still don't care about politics. I care about economics. I care about our economy. That's what speaks to me. I turn on C-SPAN, which is the first time I've ever turned on C-SPAN, because the House Financial Services Committee is holding a hearing about the financial collapse. And so I turn it on and I'm waiting breathlessly. What do our leaders have to say about our economy? What nuggets are they going to unfurl for me that I just couldn't possibly learn on my own? And I got nothing. I got less than nothing. After about 35 minutes of watching C-SPAN, I was just like, what the hell are they doing on Capitol Hill? Because this makes no sense. Everything that they're talking about is not the reality that I see in my own business and in the economy in our country. And that's what got me off the couch. Because if these are our leaders, God help America. For the young people in this room, I know that's kind of why you're here. Something clicked along the way where you were like, wait, what? Like, I know I'm like 19 or 20 or 21 or 24, but these are the people that are leading us? Because, like, I'm young, but I have sense, and everything they're saying just does not compute. So that's what happened to me. So I got into the Tea Party movement by happenstance. It was a Tea Party rally in my area in Naples. The news media had been saying for about 6 months that these Tea Party rallies are just a bunch of racists because they're opposed to Barack Obama. And so my mom always taught me, she was like, listen, don't listen to what anybody tells you. Go figure it out for yourself and then make a decision. So when I'm watching the news, that's what's in my head. So I'm like, all right, Mom. Like, she didn't tell me. I didn't tell her what I was doing. I'm just like, in the back of my head, I could hear my mom. Now, you guys know this. You still hear your mother with like every decision that goes on in your life. You still hear Mom. And you're just like, you're making a decision in your life and your mom is like, now you know what you should be doing, right? You know, it's kind of like the Holy Spirit, but louder, but a lot louder. So I go to this Tea Party rally. I walk out there. And I'm just kind of walking through, and a couple people kind of look over their shoulder. They're like, oh, who's that? All right, you know. I mean, look, I'm 6'2", 275, okay? They're like, it's hard to miss me. So I'm walking out there, and people are kind of looking, and I walk up to the side of the road, and it was just a bunch of just, you know, they were old people. And they got their signs, they got the American flags, and I'm just standing there kind of looking at them and looking around, and I'm just like, all right, where's the racism? I'm waiting for the racism that they were telling me about. This lady who was standing next to me, she looks at me and she goes, can we take a picture? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And she goes, so we take it, and she goes, thank you. Now I want to share this with my friends so they know that I'm not a racist. And my heart sank for her. Because the hobgoblins in our politics will try to tell the world who she is without having an opportunity to know why she is motivated to be active in our politics. We saw that in school boards here in this state, but not just here, all across the country. But let me tell you this, we've been seeing that in school boards for a decade now. It's that this is the moment that literally ignited on the national scene politically. The behavior by school board members in Loudoun County is not new behavior. They've been doing this all across the country. They did it in my county. That's what got my wife to run for school board. Because what they did was they told her that, hey, we're changing your after-school program that you think you like, but we know better, so we're just going to do it. And we're going to do it on the last day of school and just tell you about the change for next year, and there's nothing you can say. And you had moms and dads show up in these school board meetings where they had never been. And they're like, why are you taking our program from us? We like the vendor. We don't want you to be the vendor. We like the vendor that we have. And they were like, oh, that's so nice. That's so cute. We know better. Just sit down and everything will be okay. That has long been the attitude of school board members in our country. And that is an attitude that active moms, I'm gonna tell you what, they don't like it. Because for them, their child is their primary investment in life. And nobody's gonna tell them what to do with their child, let alone school board members that they never even met and they don't even know. I think some of the magic that we're seeing in our politics right now is the pure arrogance from the left. Let's be very clear about what happened in part in the 2020 elections. The media spent 4 years vilifying Donald Trump. The thing that's so ironic is, like, look, I'm a hip hop kid, you know, so every time I go by the Trump International in DC, you know, the Jay-Z lyric comes back to my head, and I'll tell people, like, I'm at the Trump International, ask for me. And shout to Jay-Z. Listen, man, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I love hip hop music. I love hip hop. And so it's so funny to me because prior to 2016, Donald Trump was a cultural phenomenon in our country. He was a cultural icon. Al Sharpton would religiously go meet with Donald Trump and be like, hey, I'm with Donald Trump, take a picture of us, we're together, right? Hillary Clinton was at his wedding. Like, her and Bill are like, they're like this. You know, there's cheesing at the wedding. And I get it, when you're in campaigns, listen, being in campaigns is like being in a football game. We're gonna fight. And we're gonna fight, and we're gonna fight hard. But when the game is over, the game is over. But for the political left, the game was never over. Because what they were witnessing was a complete stoppage and reversal of their agenda that they had been plotting in our country really for 100 years. not just because Barack Obama was elected or because of the coalition of the ascendant or what all the prognosticators told us was a new wave in politics and how demographics is truly destiny and the Republican Party is going to be a regional party now and all the propaganda and fluff they like to throw out in their large worded phrases that mean absolutely nothing. They thought the country had fundamentally changed. Barack Obama, if you remember, right before the election night in 2008 was telling people from the stage, we're 4 days away from fundamentally transforming America. And then Donald Trump got elected. And America was like, no, we don't want you to fundamentally transforming anything. Hillary was supposed to continue that. That all stopped. And so what did we see after that? A vilification of a president unlike we've never seen. You know, I thought Bush derangement syndrome was bad. You know, that's like a cold. You know, Trump derangement syndrome is like COVID-19, man. It's like a whole other thing. I'm joking. I'm joking. But the reality is that 2020 boils down to them spending 4 years completely trying to delegitimize a president of the United States right in front of our eyes. What we've seen now is that Joe Biden was essentially, his mandate was to just stand still, be nice, and don't do anything. That is the Joe Biden mandate from the 2020 elections. Stand still, be nice, don't do anything. What he decided to do was pick up the ball that Barack Obama left and add a big old spice of Bernie Sanders to it. And the American people responded in kind, and they were like, no. And that is the magic of what happened in Virginia. Where does activism come into all this? You cannot get voters to move from point A to point B if you don't have people in the streets talking to people. Campaigns are not just 30-second ads. They're not. And here's the truth. Every candidate that just says campaigns are 30-second ads are candidates that lose. They lose every time. To the consultants, if some of y'all in the room, sorry, I'm going to just say it how it is. The consultants who say we just have to put more money on TV and more money on TV and more money on TV, but you never actually talk to voters. Yeah, those monthly checks look great, but your candidate is going to lose. It was really heartwarming to hear you talking about all of the youth workers that Glenn had brought into the campaign, because that is the lifeblood of a winning campaign. You have to get out and talk to moms. You got to get out and talk to blue collar workers. You got to get out and you got to go into inner city rooms. You have to engage senior citizens. Yes, you got to engage young voters. Because here's the one thing I'm realizing about these new young voters, not the Gen Yers and Gen Xers, but the new wave of young voters. I left my phone on the table, I would illustrate, but you'll get it. What they like is customizability. They do not like bureaucracy, and they just want to be left alone. Listen, I got 3 sons, right? My sons don't even watch television. They don't watch broadcast TV. They don't watch cable. Like, I got like all the channels, and I'm like looking at them like, just pick up the remote and watch something. They're like, why? Because what do they do? They go to YouTube, they go to TikTok, and they sit there and they just watch it. And if they're like watching a video, I don't like that one, stop, let me go find another one. And this is how they take in information. This is how they live their lives. Their lives are highly customizable to who they want to be and when they want to be it at the moment they want to be it. So why in the heck would that same mindset that's being grown up in America, really because of the ingenuity of our technology and the innovation of our technology based upon an economy that's by far the best in the world, why would they want to then turn around and vote for big, stale, boring, authoritative government? Those two don't compute. Truth is, most candidates can't deliver that message, but young people being active in communities can. Young people reaching their peers who've grown up in the culture, who've been in the environment, can. And that's why what you do here is so, so powerful for the future of the conservative movement. Because it requires all these things to kind of work together. It requires them all to come together. So last thing I'm gonna do, and then if you guys want to ask questions, we could do that. Because I can go for like another 45 minutes if you want me to. I got a lot of material. I've been on the Hill 9 months. I got a lot. Okay, lots happening up there. Here's what I'm gonna leave you with. Where are we going now? On the Hill, the Democrats don't have the votes for budget reconciliation. They probably don't have the votes for infrastructure anymore after what happened last night. Because, yeah, we won in Virginia, but I want to also let you know something. They're not close to calling New Jersey. Like, New Jersey. Oh, I'm gonna follow the president's lead on this. New Jersey, folks. I'm done with them. Anyway. We have fun sometimes. We gotta have fun. The reality is that they don't know where they want to go. The Progressive Caucus is going to hold firm. The moderate Democrats that are left are going to flee. Does anybody believe that Abigail Spanberger is now going to be voting for budget reconciliation? That answer is probably no. Does anybody believe Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are jumping on board this now? Yeah, that died at about 2 o'clock this morning. So the reality is that there's going to be this come to Jesus moment for the Democrat Party. And it's going to happen over the next 3 to 4 months. Many of them are already trying to say, how do we save the midterms? The truth is they can't. That ship has sailed because voters have seen their economy not respond when it should. They've seen their kids not being taught the way they should. They've seen supply chains breakdowns and they can't even get turkeys. They're watching prices go up all over the place. They've seen Afghanistan blow up in front of our eyes. And they see this fixation on climate change when it's issue number 7 through 10, and I'm being generous. So if that's what the modern Democrat Party is providing to you, why would you give them any more power? Oh, and by the way, the current president does not look good at all. Physically, I'm not even talking about what he's done. It was like physically, there's no mantle of, oh, this guy's going to lead us to the promised land. There is no feeling in the country for that. Even Democrats don't feel that way. So where we're going is a great time of change in our politics again. But as Republicans, we have a responsibility. And this is going to be my message going back to the Hill. Literally today, we were talking about it last night on the floor, chanting for Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Shears, which, by the way, it was fabulous. But the message is going to be, it's now time to lead. It is not time to wait. It is not time to just sit back and let the Democrats continue to implode, because literally that happened yesterday. Now is the time for Republicans to lead, and lead with our positions, lead with our principles, lead with our policies, and not be afraid of telling the American people where we believe the country should be going. The truth of the matter is, our country has still remained a center-right country. Our country still does not like government involved in our lives. Our country is largely conservative, small c. The new truth is that there are more black voters, and there are more young voters, and there are more Hispanic voters who are embracing small c conservatism. And if we lead with that as our party, not only are we going to win in 22, but we're going to go back and grab that thing on Pennsylvania Avenue in 24. But we have to lead nonetheless. All right, I'll stop there. Anybody got questions?
Wait to ask your question till you get the microphone.
What?
Go ahead.
All set.
You're good.
Okay. My name's Laura Padello, and my first question is about race relations and how people are being divided in our country. My granddaughter's interracial, and I raised her for 10 years. And I love her, she loves me, and she went to NYU and she took one of these courses that the educators put out. Right. And she came and she said to me, Grandma, you're systemically racist. And I could have cried. And I said to her, how can you say that? You know me, I'm a nurse, I work with everybody, I raised you. How can you say that? And she said to me, I know you're not racist, but you're systemically racist. Every white person in America is. And my question is, I see such effort being made, and it's on both sides of dividing people one against the other. What can we do about that? And if I may, can you just make a quick comment about the divide between CBA in people's lives and the euthanasia movement and individual rights of each human being? Because I know that's a big issue. Thank you so much.
One point of clarification, CBA, acronyms. You said
Cost-benefit analysis.
cost-benefit analysis of euthanasia?
No, of human lives. You know, I did a talk on euthanasia, and 50% of the young people thought we should do it because they're the ones who are going to have to pay the bill.
So I'm going to touch that one first, and I'm going to come to the racial or the perceived racial divide in the United States. There's a very dangerous thing that's happening in academia writ large. And what is happening is that, and you're seeing it obviously with critical race theory, but I'm going to talk about cost-benefit analysis, euthanasia, stuff like that. What we're seeing is, in my view, is a devaluation of humanity, and it's a devaluation of individuality. Because if you devalue the individual, then it is much more palatable to push big government ideals. An individual does not want to have to succumb to the weight of government. But if you don't view people as individuals but as groups, then it's easy to be like, well, this works because us young people need to do this and you old people have had your time. That is the very underpinnings of that argument with cost-benefit analysis. It is not for the left, it's not about extinguishing the individual life. That's not their purpose, in my view. In my view, the purpose of the left is to take large swaths of control. And the only way you can really do that and implement the agenda they want is you have to devalue individualism. You have to devalue humanity. And now I'm gonna bring it to race. You have to devalue the individual ability of you to have, I don't even know what the right terminology is, a mixed race grandchild. I don't care what the terminologies are. You know, a grandchild who's both black and white. My wife is white. My kids are mixed. It is what it is, right? The truth is that in the political left, in order to have young people absorb the ideas of the left, you have to have, and this is kind of why I brought this code up. When I read it, I was like, well, I'm starting there. Because you have to divide people in large groups, in large cohorts. If you're white and you're old, you are systemically racist, even though you don't even know it, even though everything individually in your life speaks otherwise. But as a group, you are. And because of that group think, now we can add in these policies that actually do not respect the individuality of all Americans. One of my counties that I represent is Lee County, Florida. I was asked the other day by a county commissioner, Lee County, Florida is named after Robert E. Lee. That's what it's named after. In the county commission chambers in Lee County, Florida, above the head of the chair of the county commission is a portrait of General Robert E. Lee. I was asked 3 days ago, should the portrait come down by one of the members of the commission? I said, look, in all honesty, I didn't even know the county was named after Robert E. Lee until I got into politics. I'm just being honest. I didn't know. It didn't affect my life. Number two, even if I may not like Robert E. Lee from a historical perspective, that's like issue 150 in my life. So if you guys decide to move the portrait, that's just because you decided to do it. To be frank, I really don't care. But if you're going to do that, are you going to rename the county? And if you're going to do that, then what's going to stop you from renaming something else? I think this move to just eliminate history, or to, for lack of a better phrase, whitewash history, or blackwash history, depending on what perspective you want to use, it is disrespectful to the intellect of the individual. Because what it assumes is that the individual doesn't have the ability and the capacity to learn history, understand the nuance of our history, look at trajectory of America, and then figure out where America is going into the future. But again, I always start at the beginning. If you do not value individuality, then that's how things like CRT and cost-benefit analysis with respect to euthanasia can come in and become actual topics of legitimate discussion, because you've eliminated the view of individuality and humanity amongst every American. And that flies directly in the face of the Declaration of Independence. directly in the face of the Declaration of Independence.
Question over here.
Hi, Congressman. To start, my parents moved to Marco Island, Florida a few years ago. You represent the most beautiful district in the entire country. But yeah, so I work in our campus leadership project. Yeah. We work with young people every day. And you know, there's a lot of implications from this election with CRT being on the ballot, endless fights over pronouns that are real and made up. Something often we get with young people is, you know, this whole, well, I'm fiscally conservative but socially liberal kind of mentality. Do you think with this election and the way things are going that still works?
I don't think that, well, I'm gonna come back to the point. By the way, I do represent the best district in America. Like, I do. I tell the other members, they're like, no, you don't. I'm like, yes, I do. And they look at me and they're like, it's like Fort Myers and Naples and Marco Island, right? I was like, also Sanibel and Captiva Islands and Boca Grande. They're like, they get upset. They realize, and then they come down to my district and raise money. So I'm like, yeah, you know, because you come anyway. Anyway, I digress. Back to the point at hand. Most people in our country are fiscally conservative and socially libertarian. So when I hear a young person give me that one, I'm like, you're not socially liberal, you're socially libertarian. You just want to live your life. If you're gay or LGBT, I know they're going to tell me like, oh, you can't say that anymore. Whatever. If you have a different viewpoint when it comes to sexuality, other than the societal norm of heterosexuality, whatever that may be, whatever the acronyms or pronouns are, if you're socially libertarian, I respect you as a human being. This goes back to that individuality talk I was just mentioning. I respect you as a human being to just live your life. I don't care. Live your life. That's great. Do not imprint what you want to do on me. That is the only limitation that I ask. I think that if you talk to people in the LGBTQ community, you actually have a sizable number, I would probably say a majority, that have that view. They want to be able to go get a job. They want to be able to not be harassed. They want to be able to go live in a place. They want to live their lives. And for the most part, they just want to be left alone. That is socially libertarian. I would say with respect to last night elections with CRT and the like, people are largely coming back to what the societal norms actually are supposed to be. Like, no, it's not okay to teach white kids that they are oppressors just by the mere fact that, you know, they're white, even though they're 7 years old and have no idea what being an oppressor is unless they were taught it in their homes by their parents. They have no idea. Meanwhile, it is completely irresponsible to tell a 7-year-old black kid that he is oppressed, even though both of his parents are at home. One of them works in financial services, the other one works in accounting, and they're actually living a middle class and upper middle class life. But now that kid is somehow oppressed when in the game of life, he's winning in a way that most kids around the globe aren't winning. That kid can't be oppressed. It cannot be. You cannot have a situation where you have this pyramid of white supremacy, which is a legitimate thing, which is moving through all these diversity, inclusion, and equity and inclusion seminars across the country, literally trying to train teachers and workers in our economy that because you just say you had a black friend, that's not good enough, you're still systemically racist. This is insane. And I think you're seeing a revolt against these very precepts by regular Americans. I'm gonna give you one more. There was a little ballot question in Minneapolis last night. Little thing. Nah. MSNBC didn't really talk about it. The people of Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is not Collier County and Lee County, Florida. Let's just be very clear. It is not. Overwhelmingly rejected a move to completely and fundamentally transform their police department, get rid of the police department, put something else in place. They overwhelmingly rejected it. Why? Because every black mom in the inner city knows that the police are the one thing that stands between their child getting to school and joining a gang. They know inherently, my kid can't learn if my kid lives in a war zone? Don't believe me? Go ask the young people in Kabul, Afghanistan right now. Go ask the young people who live in Helmand Province. Can they actually get an education while a war zone's going on? The answer is no. Public safety, having police on the streets, having safe communities is the one thing that allows kids to learn and allows economies to thrive. You can't run a business if the police aren't there as a deterrent against criminal threat. How did business really work out through those riots a summer ago? Not too good.
Is there another question?
We've got a question here.
Okay, next question.
It's not really a question, it's a big thank you for standing up to the Democrat leadership last week after that energy company inquisition. You were awesome, they were awful. So I'm just going to throw this up as a softball comment on you hit it out of the park when you talk about climate change and energy companies.
Yeah.
They were afraid to talk about it, you weren't. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I will tell you that when that happened, I went to that committee. The Democrats are running these committee hearings and oversight that just don't matter because we're not doing things like, immigration, supply chains. Like, we're not doing anything like that. We're talking about these random topics. So I go into the hearing and I was just like, all right, I have a couple questions to ask. I'm going to get in and get out and move on with my day because I don't care about this hearing. I almost didn't even go because it's so ridiculous, the premise. When Carolyn Maloney literally was attacking oil executives, and look, if you believe that they don't believe in climate change and you want to be angry, I actually don't have a problem with that. Be angry. It's a free country. If that's how you feel, speak it. Stand on it. Be who you are. That's my position. Where I got upset was when you had a chairwoman of one of the most powerful committees in Congress literally badgering them and demanding that they pledge not to spend money in their own interest as a company. That's a violation of the First Amendment. Complete violation of the First Amendment. Depending on how the left feels about elected officials getting overly involved in the activities of other agencies and or people, you could say that there are grounds for her to be removed from Congress or censured at the very least. It was outrageous behavior. Because what it does, it has a chilling effect on what our business owners and our companies are allowed to say and think about what's best for their enterprises and for our economy at large. So that was the response. It was not, listen, my response and oversight was not nearly this eloquent, okay? Like I kind of ranted. Anyway, I leave there, a friend of mine calls me, literally I'm walking down the hall. He goes, buddy, that was amazing. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like I just kind of went on a little riff and I left. And he was like, dude, there are higher ups who are watching this thing. And they were like, when's this guy running for Senate? We like this guy. Anyway, I'm not breaking any news here, but Marco and Rick Scott are doing great jobs. I'm not breaking any news. But the real point is that what we can't have is members of Congress abusing the bully pulpit, abusing it to try to shake down or intimidate Americans. There's a lot of progressives and Marxists I do not agree with, but I will never tell them not to stand on what they believe in. I will never tell them that they're not allowed or that they shouldn't be involved in politics. Because the truth of the matter is our politics only work when there is disagreement, when there is discussion. Yeah, when there are divisions, when there are debates. That's the only way our politics truly work. If everything is groupthink, if everything is one way, if everything completely removes individuality, if you're to be shouted down and shut up, then we don't have politics anymore. What we have is totalitarianism. And under that rubric, I don't care if you're a middle-class black kid or a poor white kid or an upper-middle-class Mexican kid, it won't matter. You will not be able to thrive. You will not be able to dream big. You will not be allowed to innovate, and you will not be allowed to be free in the United States. So, there you go. It's a pleasure, everybody. Thank you.
Congressman, what a thrill to have you here. Earlier this year, I was at a meeting in Naples, and there was this young black congressman that I think I'd heard the name, but we'd never met, and he gave a terrific talk. I mean, I was some of you in the room heard me comment on it. So I stuck around when the meeting was breaking up, and I went over to the speaker, and because I wanted to tell him that he'd made a new fan. And he held out his hand to me and he said, "I'm a fan." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I'm a fan. I have attended Leadership Institute training, and I'm a fan of yours," he said. So we're honored to have you here. Let me present an Adam Smith tie.
I got a new tie.
All right, hey! And a packet of information about the Institute. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you. I invite you to join us on December 1st for our next Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast. I encourage you to RSVP online at leadershipinstitute.org/breakfast. Grace Sullivan, will you step up here, please? We invite anyone who is interested now in a tour of our Stephen P.J. Wood building and the Emerson and Dolores Wright Center for Campus Reform. Come up here and meet with Grace here at the lectern, and she'll give you a great tour of our institute and be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you all very much.